Okay, we're back, America. This is Kirk. This is my friend Kirk. He's a pain in the butt. Anyway, on the last video, I was sitting there talking about how normally we do weed harvest. Usually it's about the last week of June, usually right along there, and usually by the 4th of July, you're done by the 4th of July.
Yep.
And how the weather moves from Texas all the way up into Canada, and Canada's not even close to ready yet.
Correct.
But Texas has already been, and Oklahoma's probably already harvested, right?
They're there now.
They're probably cutting Oklahoma right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So normally, as the season, the weather progresses and gets warmer, this harvest starts in Texas and works to Oklahoma, Kansas, on up through the Dakotas into Canada. Normally, with that process, with that wave of heat, I guess, or the timing, we'd be up here about the last week of June doing wheat harvest. Well, why aren't we cutting? I mean, today's the 22nd of June. We should normally be cutting about right now.
Correct.
Okay. Why aren't we cutting?
Because like the rest of America, it's cold and wet. It's the end of June. I got a coat on. Of course, I've been out mowing today.
Yeah,
on a
he was on the
tractor
mower
without a cab. It's 65 degrees
Something
out
like
today.
And it was windy too earlier.
Normally it's 95 degrees right now. It's just cold and wet, and the wheat's taking its sweet time ripening up, which is good for wheat.
Why is that?
It's slowed down. Usually the heat, we raise 90 bushel wheat, and then come June and we have 100 degrees temperature and 20-mile-an-hour winds, and it just cooks it. And it turns 100 bushel wheat into 50 bushel wheat.
Because of the moisture content.
Just the heat, it pushes it to maturity faster than it should.
So this kernel grows up and gets nice and plump, and then the heat comes along and shrivels back down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or it might have 50 kernels in a head, and the heat comes in, and now the plant says, I'm tired, I'm stressed out, I'm dying. Stressed from heat, and only puts 30 kernels in a head.
If it's already 50 kernels in there, how does it take 20 away?
It just pulls away from the undeveloped kernels, so it makes
it aborts those 20 to make 30 good ones.
Good ones. Corn does the exact same thing.
All right.
You could have 500 kernels of corn on an ear of corn, but when it starts really stressing, it takes from the undeveloped ones, so it can really feed the good developed kernels. Okay. Corn, about all major crops do the same thing.
Okay, all right.
So they do.
I didn't know that. Okay. So, so as it's coming out of the ground, it's only this tall. It hasn't decided yet. Once it gets to a certain size, it starts building the head. And that's when it says, okay, we're going to put 50 head. And then, because, boy, it's been raining a lot. We're going to put 50 kernels in this head.
Right.
Okay. And once it gets up to a certain point and the weather changes and it gets hot, it goes, well, wait a minute, we can't support 50. Let's cut it down to 30 or something.
Exactly.
Now you got a smaller head.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. I didn't know it did that. That's news to me. Okay.
So wheat's about yay high when it determines its head size, in my opinion. Somebody might tell you different, but you can take a piece of wheat about yay high in March.
That's from the ground, it's only this tall.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Cut it open, and that little head's already forming in there.
Okay, you'd have to use a
small knife,
magnifying glass to check it out. Right.
Corn's the same way. When corn's 3 foot high is when it's determining the ear length and how big around that ear is.
Okay,
and as it goes through the season, heat stress, drought stress, weed pressure, soil quality, all that shrinks that ear down.
Okay,
and so. Yeah, even though harvest is being delayed, it's going to make us.
It's better.
We'll have better wheat. We'll have better wheat crop because it's maturing every kernel in that head.
Okay,
and
now
it's not aborting any.
Each of those kernels, do they? Are they better kernels because of the slow maturity?
Yes. Yep.
Just like when they do the testing and stuff.
They put more. Well. They put less protein in when it's good. Wheat will put on more protein when it stresses, but it'll put more kernels on. Every kernel will pollinate and develop into a kernel. Okay, so you get more of them, but they don't have quite as much protein. Protein, right.
You want protein or don't want protein? You do want protein. That's one of the things they measure when they grind, they test it.
In a flour mill, they want protein in flour.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So.
All right, now, is there any... Any negatives? Any negatives to being a slow harvest? I mean, slow
like
ripening?
last night about midnight, I was finishing up a field of milo or sorghum we're planting, and here come the raindrops, and here come the hail. So that's the downside.
It's a crapshoot.
Every day that we go longer and longer, more storms come through, more of a chance of getting hailed out.
So it's kind of a crapshoot. The longer it's in, the bigger risk you take for damage.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when I pulled in right there by the chemical plant, where you buy your chemicals off the highway, there was a whole bunch of wheat that was laid down. Is that storm damage?
That's wind, and we have a lot of acres like that.
Okay. Now, is it ruined?
No, it's good, but however, it takes even longer to mature because that wheat that's on the bottom doesn't see sunshine, it doesn't see wind, it doesn't, because it's laid over flat. So it even takes longer yet to mature.
Okay, and it's just basically like a hurricane knocks trees over. This wind just knocks the stalk of
these storms, like the storm that come through last night, we didn't get a lot of rain, but there's 50, 60 mile an hour winds with it. And the wheat is so waterlogged from being wet so much that the root system is just giving out.
Oh, okay.
And it's just laying the whole
So it's
plant.
not the stalk breaking over, it's the roots.
It's, the whole
out.
thing.
Okay.
And
Okay.
there you go.
Huh.
So,
right.
and it's not really pulling the roots out of the ground. It's just the plant's just had so much rain and rain, soft ground. It's just laying over.
It's just like a big storm in a tree, the whole root system rips out. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a smaller plant, but it does the same kind of thing, just like a tree getting ripped out by the roots. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the ones that are laid over, the kernels are still all in there, ready to go.
Yes.
You just got to put your head a little lower and cut a lot more hay or straw.
You're going to see a lot of that this summer.
Okay. No, you're going to see a lot of it. I'm going to sit in the truck. He runs a combine. I drive the truck.
There'll be a lot of that this summer.
Now you were telling me, and I know the answer on this already, but for the people, when hail comes down and hits the head, I see sometimes they're broke over and falling on the ground. And I know when you get the really big hail, that'll devastate a crop. But even small hail, what does it actually do to the head?
Oh, it just knocks a grain out of it.
So here's the shaft coming up, and here's all these little pods of seeds.
Right.
Hail hits it, and the seeds fall out onto the ground, and now you can't do anything about it.
Right.
It becomes volunteer wheat next year.
Yes, it just shatters it. And the riper the wheat is, the more it will shatter.
Easier it is.
The easier to shatter.
Okay, correct. So when it's like it is right now, it's still green. Kind of hard to knock them out of there.
It'll still knock some out, or just bust the head up. But once you get more and more mature, that's why when harvest comes,
it's real brittle, and it really breaks.
And it doesn't matter. Somebody better die before we stop, because we cut every minute as possible because it just takes one good storm to lose a tremendous amount of money.
I remember seeing video, and we'd cut at night, but I was really surprised. You don't cut at night. Like I figured they go till 4, 5, 6 in the morning, all night long, and you don't. Usually around 10 or 11 o'clock, you're shutting down. And why is that?
It's the humidity comes up at night, especially this year with the ground just being mud most of the time about night, because you can't thrash the little kernels from the rest of the plant.
It's internal, inside the combine, where it's thrashing around, breaking it apart.
Correct. The humidity comes up, the moisture, if you would, and it's hard to thrash that kernel from the rest of the crop. And so there's just a point where you have to stop.
Okay. And you can also tell that the engine starts bogging down a little bit, so you can tell that. But you have sensors inside that tell you how moist it is and all that too.
Correct.
But also, I remember 2 years ago we broke a sickle. Why did the sickle break? Remember Terry? Well, okay.
Wear and tear.
No. Well, you were telling. Don't leave me hanging like that. What you told me was that the straw.
At the night, the straw gets really tough.
Very good. Like if you have dry, really, really dry straw, you can break it. It's pretty easy to break. Therefore, the sickle can cut it easy. You take straw and get it a little damp, get it moist, it becomes real rubbery, real tough.
Raggy, we call it.
Yeah, raggy.
Like a rag.
Yeah,
Yep.
And it's really hard to cut, and therefore the sickle has to really slice hard. Well, it puts more strain on the ends of the things and breaks ball joints. Anyway, we'll show you more of that during harvest. But anyway, thanks for explaining to them why the wheat and why we're not ready to go yet.
Sounds good.
You ready to go get a beer?
Peace out. Yes, I am.
Is it beer 30?
It is.
It's beer like almost dark.
Yeah.
So,
It's
all right, ciao.
overcast all day, and
Yeah.
we've been mowing and just doing odd end stuff, just waiting on the wheat.
Right. Yeah, that's why you're doing all the mowing and stuff today. Just,
Just
you always
waiting
got
on the wheat.
something to do on a farm, don't you?
Yes, there is.
All right.
Yes, there is.
Ciao, people. We'll see y'all later. Bye.